the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes, part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. It is Thursday, May 27th in the year 2021. Memorial Day is in a couple days from now. Time for us to celebrate, relax, and enjoy what I call the beginning of summer. But today, I got some news that came, or some statements that came from the Oregon AD, and well, you might not like it. He said something that makes me scratch my head. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JStevens07. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter as well at Locked On Buckeye. Lineup for today in segment 2. We're continuing our big things coming, where we're featuring one athlete we can expect big things from in the fall. Today, it's another defensive player. Segment 3, talking about what the Oregon AD said, what made sense, and one thing that made no sense at all. But we begin today's show looking and talking about some things that happened at the beginning of last season. There were some text messages that surfaced due to a request, and AD, the president at Ohio State, Gene Smith, Ms. Johnson, and then also Urban Meyer, there were some text messages that were surfaced that really described how confused they were last year when everything got canceled. I am not one to try to relive bad moments in time or to relive situations that brought a lot of confusion. And last year, at the beginning of the fall, well, August, not the fall, but in August, when we're hearing all the rumblings, I remember talking about what I witnessed on the Dan Patrick Show. At the time, I had a job that allowed me to watch the Dan Patrick Show the first 20 minutes before their commercial break. It was almost 20 minutes like clockwork, and I would sit there, I would watch the show, put it on the TV, and enjoy it. And in the moment at that time when Dan Patrick said, "This is what my source is saying," it was a Monday show, my source is saying X, Y, and Z. The Big Ten will not have a fall season. The Pac-12, if the Big Ten goes ahead and announces this, the Pac-12 will follow suit. And those are the things that were on the Dan Patrick Show. And then, lo and behold, he was correct. And then there was the trickle-down effect, and everything went a little crazy. Went really crazy. Well, these text messages really speak volumes about how some things that fans are requesting, Nebraska fans were requesting the same thing. It was a conversation that was being had inside Ohio State that I thought should have been had, but I didn't have any detail or any backing or inside knowledge to say, yes, this is 100% true. I have confirmation. This is happening right now. So I go back to the website. I got this information from 11warriors.com. They assembled and they compiled and assembled a timeline from some text messages that Ms. Johnson got, Gene Smith got, them back and forth, and just kind of going really in-depth, providing some in-depth, really just firsthand knowledge of really explaining how confused they were. This one comes, I'm going to go a little bit quickly, August 11th at 11:25 a.m. This is Johnson, who reached out with a text message to Smith with a simple question: "Are you okay with postpone to spring?" End quote. The article says by this point, a spring football season was possible, but it hadn't been decided. Smith, when was posed the possibility, declined to support moving on to the spring. He replied, "No. If that is proposal, we should vote no, in my view." He followed up by saying may not happen either, which is true. At that time, nobody knew what was going to happen. Yes, I do believe that a fall season should have happened, which it did. I do believe fall season should have been longer, which it was not. But I don't think the spring would have been really, really ideal, because if you would have thought about this year, this past year's football team at Ohio State. If you play in the spring, you're not going to have a lot of your leaders. You're not going to have Justin Fields. You're not going to have Trey Sermon. Well, you may have Trey Sermon because Trey Sermon was coming off an injury, so you may end up having him. You're probably not going to have Josh Myers or Wyatt Davis. Shaun Wade, no. Who else may not? Chris Olave, Chris Olave probably would have played. Who else was there that would have been your linebackers? You could have lost all 4 of your linebackers, if not 3 of them. Hilliard may have ended up staying because he didn't have that much playing time. But thinking about now, hindsight's always 2020. Thinking back now, currently on May 27, 26, at the day of this recording, it would have been very, very interesting to have a spring football season. Not just because it would have been weird, but you're losing a lot of your key players. This is something else from Smith. In my view, it is delayed until September 26th or October 1st. Otherwise, we should not support is where I am. And that's kind of where I was too, not supporting the initial thing. Now, I'm not going to go more in depth here, but you can go to 11warriors.com and reference their article that is there on the website. And they did have conversation about being independent last season. What is it, independent? Notre Dame football is the easiest connection. Notre Dame, Air Force, Army, Navy, those schools. Notre Dame, a private Christian school. The other ones are military-based schools, and they're independent. They have no conference affiliation. Notre Dame does kind of, in theory. This past year, they were in the ACC. Every year now, they're playing 5 ACC games, but they're not in the ACC as a conference member. In football, other sports, yes, but not in football. And there were conversations for Ohio State to potentially go independent, which I think would have been a wise decision if there was no Big Ten season last year. But that got turned down, and G. Smith was going through the contract just to see what it is, because schools do commit to contracts with these conferences, which makes things like going independent in a situation like last year very, very interesting, detail-oriented, complicated is a great word to use. And just that text message string that got released really showed a lot of confusion. You had Urban Meyer putting his 2 cents in, saying, hey, parents are contacting me nonstop. I'm here to help you in any way that I can, because at the time he was employed at Ohio State as well. Josh Myers was one that was talking to networks. Jonathan Cooper was talking to networks. So much is going on. In a short amount of time, you got to see really inside the conversations that these individuals had. And they were as confused as we were, if not more complicated. And they're in the know inside, trying to figure out how in the world can we have a football season in the fall when the leadership in the Big Ten says no. Let's go ahead and step away very quickly, guys. When we come back, we will continue our discussion about big things coming, athletes we can expect big things from in the fall. Who are we talking about today? All I can tell you is a defensive player. To find out more, stick around to find out. But first, check this out. RockAuto.com was a family business serving auto parts customers online for 20 years. Go to RockAuto.com to shop for auto and body parts from hundreds of manufacturers. They have everything from engine control modules and brake parts to tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Whether it's for your classic or daily driver, get everything you need in a few easy clicks delivered directly to your door. The RockAuto.com catalog is unique and remarkably easy to navigate. Quickly see all the parts available for your vehicle and choose brands, specifications, and prices you prefer. Best of all, prices at RockAuto.com are always reliably low, and the same for professionals and do-it-yourselfers. Go to RockAuto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, right? Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. RockAuto.com. And as we continue here on Locked On Buckeyes, I want to take this time to remind you to make sure you subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes so you don't miss a beat. There has been some hiccups with the Apple Podcast uploading episodes as quick as possible. I know some other shows around the Locked On Podcast Network, Apple, Spotify at times have been a little bit slow uploading and updating podcasts like they should be, a whole lot slower than they should be. So if you're a person in Apple or a Spotify listener and you're like, man, I'm not getting my episode when I want it or when I think it should come, be someone that makes sure you download the Odyssey app, Audacy. It is free, and it's a great way. I've heard no hiccups and new design, and it's a phenomenal, easy app to use. It's on my phone. I encourage you to download it. Put it on yours as well. The Odyssey app, search Locked on Buckeyes. Follow, I believe is a word, on that app so you don't miss a beat. If Apple or Spotify or delayed or late, Odyssey is the place to be. Today, we're sticking in the defensive backfield. I have some more things lined up for next week. There may be a shifting for the summer, June, maybe July, maybe 3 shows a week, 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week. And if that happens, that just alters really my plans for the summer. But I do have some plans next week and possibly into the second week of June to where we will talk about some other things to really carry us through and really have a lot of fun over the next couple months. Defensive back. Last year, one sign on the cornerback position was a guy by the name of Shaun Wade. He moved from inside to outside to a position where he thought it would be best for him to propel himself and to be one of the top defensive backs drafted in the NFL draft. It did not happen. I think that last year you saw that Shaun Wade was not having the experience at the outside position and really to me playing out of position. You saw Shaun Wade not really be the best in the individual that we thought he should be. The guy on the other side of him was Sevyn Banks, and Sevyn Banks was an individual that, to me personally, I was very high on. I was very excited to see him play the football. He stands at 6'1", 200 pounds. He does move very freely, very loosely, and he is someone that can at times provide fits for the receiver that he was guarding. Going and look at the numbers and then why I think we should expect big things from Sevyn Banks this year. I almost said Shaun Wade. If you look at, also I can say this very quickly, if you look at some way too early mock drafts, a lot of them are going to have I keep saying Shaun Wade, Sevyn Banks in the first round. I am a person that is projecting Sevyn Banks to take a step up, to be a leader, not just in word and practice, but also in the way that he plays the football, because I do believe he possesses a lot of skills to do just that. We'll explain those just very quickly. But last year's stats for Sevyn Banks go as follow. He played in all 8 games, 23 tackles, half a tackle for loss. He had no interceptions. He did have a fumble recovery, ran that thing back 38 yards for a touchdown. And he led the team. Now, this is what I like from Sevyn Banks. He led the team in pass breakups. You look at Ohio State. You look at what they have. Shaun Wade had more tackles. Shaun Wade had 34 tackles. He was third leader on the team in tackles. Pete Werner was a leader in 54. Borland was 48. And then Shaun Wade with 34. Sevyn Banks is all the way down with 9th leading tackle man for the team. Sevyn Banks had 23. Togiai had 23. And he also had Josh Proctor, who had 20. But Sevyn Banks with the 6 pass breakups, that's as huge to me as anything that I've seen, anything that I believe we'll see from I keep saying Shaun Wade. I don't know where this is coming from. I haven't talked about Shaun Wade in a very long time. And then I want to go cornerback. It is Sevyn Banks Day, and Jay's mouth keeps saying Shaun. Shaun's in Baltimore. Sevyn is still in Columbus. Sevyn Banks, 6 pass breakups. Second on the team was Shaun Wade. That was a proper time to say his name. But everybody else that was on the team that had a pass breakup, the most they had was 2. Zach Harrison had 2. Marcus Hooker had 2. Tommy Togiai had 2. Marcus Williamson had 2. Baron Browning had 2. Then everybody else was littered. There was a bunch of people that had just 1 pass breakup on the season. 2 reasons why I am high on Sevyn Banks. Number 1, the experience he got last year, not just in the Alabama game, but all throughout the season. If you watch film on Sevyn Banks, you're going to find an individual that is in decent position a lot of times. For a guy who's a first-time starter, who the previous year you had to sit back and just watch the excellent play from Okudah, Arnett, even Wade on the inside, and Fuller in the back. You had to watch their excellent play and say, wow, that's how I can play on the field. That's what I want Buckeye fans. This is Banks talking. This is what I want Buckeye fans to expect from me when I'm on the field. Lock down, shut down, not letting the receiver get comfortable, not really letting the quarterback just have his way with me. None of that stuff. Those are the kind of things to expect. And last year you saw he gets on the field and you say, man, he's getting beat. But if you look closely, there are numerous plays where Sevyn Banks really is in good position, where he is turning, he is getting not as fluid as you may want. But when you're a first-year starter, you kind of expect these things to happen. And he's not really someone that I thought was going to come in last year, blossom, play amazing. I did think he was going to be a better player than what he was last year. But Sevyn Banks, to me, is the one that this year, he's not going to be a leader in the locker room, a leader on the field as well. Even if he says very, very little on the field to his teammates during the gameplay, you can look at him, watch him, look at exactly how he conducts himself, how he carries himself, how he uses, how his footwork has improved, how his hands have improved, in all of that stuff. You can look and see, well, that's exactly what we can do. And I was going back, this is the last comment or thought I want to make. I want to say, was it Sunday or Monday? ESPN, SEC Network was replaying the national championship game. And I wanted to go back and watch. I jumped in the second quarter. I believe it was 24-17 was the score. And there was a couple plays that I highlighted and I remember very, very well in my brain from that game that I rewatched. Just a portion of it. I had it on while I was doing stuff. Wasn't really all focused on it because I didn't want to sit down and dive back into that game. Not at that time. We'll do it later on, but not at that time. I had some other things going on that I had to attend to. So there was a play. Shaun Wade, top of the screen, one-on-one against Devonta Smith. It's the matchup Wade wanted. And I noticed something very, very interesting. Not just that Devonta Smith beat him, but when you're at the line, I understand that Shaun Wade had the bail mentality, but Shaun Wade didn't do anything with his hands. He was there, and then he let Devonta Smith get a free release and got separation, and there was a yard, maybe 2 yards quickly separation between the two. And then, like clockwork, Jones to Smith, deep pass. I believe Alabama ended up scoring on that drive. I believe he scored a touchdown on that drive. And I can believe that's the play that Sevyn Banks can look back on. There were plays, another play in there. I don't have enough time to talk about it now. But there was another play in there where Sevyn Banks, where his footwork, he would, split second, move his hands, he's there. I mean, he was very, very close on so many things. And even though we didn't see him in the spring, I do think we'll see a really, 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 really good version of Sevyn Banks from last year's experience and really knowing I'm a leader. I know what I did last year, and I can really do that and then some this year. He can look back at that play from Shaun Wade and say, look, Shaun Wade played good. He was a good player at Ohio State, but not putting my hands on the defender when I'm in press coverage, I can't let that guy get a free release. It embarrassed me? Nah. I ain't about that life. The life we are about is sticking around to find out what is next. The Oregon athletic director had something to say about Ohio State's matchup with them in week 2 of the season. What did he say? What did Jay agree with? What did Jay disagree with? Stick around to find out. But first, check this out. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and all your UFC/MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device. And when you sign up today, make sure you use promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, your online sports book experts. And as we roll on here on Locked On Buckeyes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, the Ohio State Buckeyes, every single day, a little bulletin board material from the Oregon Athletic Director, Mr. Rob Mullins. Rob Mullins was on Sirius XM Radio. I believe this was on Wednesday. He was speaking with Ryan Leaf and Guy Haberman, and they were just having a regular old conversation. And Mullins said Oregon needs to take advantage of the trip to the banks of the Olentangy and plant a proverbial Pac-12 flag into the turf. That's a portion of the article, not directly from the quote, but here's what Mr. Rob Mullins had to say. Trust me, you hear plant a proverbial Pac-12 flag. We saw what Baker Mayfield did when he planted the OU flag on the field. Playing the conference flag in Ohio Stadium. Sir, you're not on the field. But if this is what you truly believe, a lot of times you get some of the best quotes from some of these interviews because sometimes these guys, they want to talk and they want to let stuff off their chest. The right interviewer asks the right leading question, and things like this comes out. Here's what Rob Mullins had to say on Sirius XM Radio with Ryan Leaf and Guy Haberman in regards to their Week 2 matchup with the Ohio State University. Quote, "This league has won more national championships when you combine all sports than anybody. But at the end of the day, because of the visibility of football that carries a disproportionate share of all these college conferences, we have to take advantage of our opportunities. A lot of those come in the postseason, but we're going to have some great opportunities in the non-conference segment this fall. We'll have one, even though it's game 2 and we're focused on game 1, Ryan. But the chance to take a trip to Ohio State, we would have loved to have them last year. But the chance to go out and compete against what many believe will be a top 3, top 5 team on the road will give us a chance to show what Pac-12 football is like," end quote. I like the confidence. I enjoy an athletic director that believes in his program and knows you're going across the country to play an opponent in Ohio State who last year you weren't able to play due to the Rona and COVID and all the wackiness that went involved and was detailed into that situation. But you're getting them Week 2. You have a guy in Kayvon Thibodeau who is highly regarded as one of the top edge defenders in the college football, expected to be one of the top draft picks in next year's NFL draft. You have a new quarterback come in. Last year, I believe Oregon won the Pac-12, even though they did not win their division. There was some interesting information that came out in regards to why they ended up playing in the Pac-12 championship. I think the team, maybe USC, had to drop out because of the Rona. Trust me, I forget all the details. I don't want to say this is concrete what happened when it's not concrete in my head, and I can definitively say what it is that happened last year at the end of the Pac-12 season. But he made a comment that talks about how we're expecting to have a lot of things, good things, tough matchups in the non-conference. Sir, your only tough game really should be Ohio State. I expect it to be a Oregon loss, not because of me being an Ohio State podcast or a host or analyst, none of that stuff. I think Ohio State has a better team. But your non-conference schedule is not that tough. I'm looking at it right now on my TV screen, on my computer screen. You play Fresno State Week 1. That's at home in Eugene, Autzen Stadium. That should be a win. Week number 3, after going on the road to Ohio State, to Columbus, you're home against Stony Brook. The Stony Brook I know is a Stony Brook Middle School, not far from where I grew up, or from where I live, maybe 20 minutes from the home I lived when I was in high school when my parents moved. Stony Brook in college, you should destroy them. I believe Pac-12 plays nine league games. Yeah, so there are 3 non-conference games. They're right early in the beginning, and you're talking about tough non-conference, sir. I don't see it. But right now, if you're very, very excited and elated and you're really thinking about how enjoyed you'll be to beat Ohio State, great. I get it. I would be excited too on the potential to go to Ohio State, to Columbus. Big noon kickoff. You got Gus Johnson, Joe Klatt on the call, Jenny Taft on the sideline. I get it. But be very, very careful. I'm not going to go off of what you said. I'm going to let your words and really the proof of the pudding, the schedule, really relay that I don't know if you really know your schedule as well as you think you do. Also, the confidence is great. But remember, this is May. You said that May 26th. The game is September 2nd. There's a lot of time between now and then for both teams to get better, to both teams to improve. But if that finds its way onto somebody's bulletin board inside the Ohio State football program, somebody might look back to that interview May 26th where you said what you said, and you're like, well, yeah, I put my foot in my mouth, and well, the final score in this game shows for it. Guys, this has been fun, a lot of fun. Come back tomorrow. We will have a fun time tomorrow. Tomorrow at the end of the show. Now, we have not had Jay's weekly rant for a while. Tomorrow's going to be more advice for the college football playoff committee, not really to improve the committee and things that they do, but really just to improve the whole entire college football playoff system as a whole as far as scheduling games. 2 ideas that I think will be very, very implemental, and I think you might actually like them. It makes a whole lot of sense. It'll make a whole lot of sense when you hear them tomorrow. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. Send all of your emails to jstevens317 at gmail.com. Tomorrow, we finish off our little week-long journey discussing players we can expect big things from. Will it be offense tomorrow? Will it be defense tomorrow? You got to come back tomorrow to find out. But in the meantime, between you ending this episode and tapping into tomorrow's, you have plenty of time to check out the Locked On Today podcast, because the Locked On Today podcast is the place to get all the sports news you need in under 20 minutes with the Locked On Today podcast. Host Peter Bukowski updates you on the latest news in every major sport with the help of our local experts. Follow the Locked On Today podcast on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your fine podcast.